he'd come up and I'll hold the mic and you can ask your question and make your comment. That way everyone can hear. Can everybody hear me back in the back? If you'd allow me, I'd like to take a couple of minutes and express my thoughts about the Willow Run Tea Party Caucus. I appreciate Mrs. Moore and her faithfulness standing by Dennis. And my wife, I want to thank her for her standing by me all the years since 2009. Dennis said some things that need to be overstated. We have a tendency to understate things in America because we're afraid to speak. Christians are intimidated today. Conservatives are being intimidated today. We've got Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and let me tell you who they are. They're communists. They're socialists who didn't get what they thought they were going to get in the 2016 election, and now they're going to try to take it by force. Our country has never been in the danger it's in today. You can go back and look at our history. And the reason it's in danger is because we don't have people in Congress who have the spine to stand up. I am extremely disappointed in the Republican Party in this country. I'm extremely more so upset with the Democratic Party because they know better. The hatred and the power struggle, and that's what it's about. It's not about the country anymore. It's about cold-blooded, hardball power in the United States. I'll tell you what we need to do. And I know I'm going to be criticized for saying this. I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to reestablish the old House Committee on Un-American Activities and get to the bottom of what's wrong in the United States of America. Let me tell you somebody else I'd like to thank tonight. Someone we haven't mentioned yet. I don't know if he's still here. Tony was here at the beginning of the night. Is Tony back there somewhere?
No, he leaves at 9.
Did he? I think someone should pen a letter, an official letter, from the Willow Run Tea Party Caucus, because the Willow Run Tea Party Caucus would not have been able to do what we have done over the years unless we had a place to meet.
Right.
And to have every Friday night from 9 to midnight for since what, 2007? That's an amazing record. And it could not have happened if we had to rent out a facility at $300 a night. So probably Tony is one of the prime movers who had a great deal to do with everything. You know, we've helped get a governor elected. We've helped get an attorney general elected. We've determined who was and who was not going to build the bridge. We've done a lot of things nobody expected we'd be able to do. Some people disagree with that. But I'm going to tell you, without somebody like Tony, who's opened up this facility, he had a lot to lose. He had a lot to lose. Now, we helped him out on Friday nights. I'm sure he made a buck or two. But I'm going to tell you, if Tony's here or anybody knows Tony wants to tell him, thank you for all that Tony has done. Let's give him.
So Dan's going to take the mic back again, and people are going to be able to come up and talk. But I need to say something about Tony. I was remiss in not recognizing Tony before he left. There's a reason Tony gives us this venue. There's a reason Tony takes the arrows and the accusations and somebody called one time and said, "You have that tea party there, I'm never coming back again." Tony says, "Why you call?"
Why you what?
Why did you call? I was trying to mimic Tony's language. He says, "Why you call?" Tony, like it didn't bother him at all that the person's not going to come back. He said, "Why didn't you just leave it? Don't call. Why did you call?" Let me say something about Tony. There's a reason he supports what we're doing. Right? In Albania, when Tony was just a child, his grandfather came to America to learn how to speak English. This was at the time when the communists had just taken over Albania. They moved in. So the communists suspected that Tony's grandfather, because he was learning how to speak English, was a traitor to communism. Probably he was. So they took Tony's grandfather out into the street and made his whole family watch him being executed, shot in the head. So Tony understands about communism, and the thing Tony told me, and I've done this, he says, Dennis, no matter if you have only 5 people, don't stop. Never stop. Because Tony says, I see it happening here, what I saw in my country. He sees the socialism and the communism that is creeping in, because you know what? He saw it before, and he recognizes it. So thanks to Tony, we have been able to do this over the years.
Let me just say one thing, and then we'll open up to the floor. Someone has said, humility is the highest trait of a great leader. And I think whether it's a John Taylor, a Dennis Moore, or Congressman Benevolio, or others who've exerted leadership and been in a place of power, humility has been their byword. And I'm thankful for what's taken place here. Folks, we've had an impact on the state of Michigan and on this country. And we need to go out of this place, and whatever happens from this point on to the Willow Run Tea Party Caucus, we need to keep in mind that we've got a goal to achieve, and we've got a fight to fight, and we just cannot quit. We've got to be like those men who held up that flag and were willing to give their lives for it. And that's what we need to continue to do, is keep up the fight. All right. As people raise their hand, would you bring them up or designate who's going to come up so everybody else can come up? If you'd like to say something, raise your hand. Denise will designate who comes up. You can come up and say a few words to Dennis or whatever you'd like to say.
Who's going first? Come on. Jerry.
These folks have been good friends.
I just wanted to say a few words for when Judy and I started. I heard Wham radio. It was when Obama was first starting to try and shove Obamacare down our throat, and I was really upset. I don't know. I still don't know if it was Dennis that was on the radio, or if it was Theron. It was one of those guys. They said, you got to come out to this tea party. And Judy was already getting ready to go to bed. Had her nightgown on, and it was a little bit snowy out. I said, come on, we got to get going. If we don't, I don't know what we're going to do. So we had it up, and we came down. And it was, we were meeting up out in the front here, in the first front section.
How was everything?
And there was a big, tall, young guy coming in, young Marine. And we were already at I got a big Marine sweatshirt on. Wow. You know, he was about 6'2", really good looking. Of course, all the Marines are good looking, except for George. And so he came in, and we were talking, and he's telling the guy we were sitting with was he was running for Congress, wasn't Kerry. And they're talking, and the Marine says, well, I just filed an amicus brief for this Marine that I knew in Iraq. And we're just listening, and he says, well, and the place got real quiet, because he was just talking to 2 or 3 people. And he says, yes, the name was Gerald Blumkin. And we looked at him. Just like this. And he continued on, and when he got done, we called him over, and I introduced myself to him, because there was no reason for him to be at our tea party. He lived in Chelsea. Dennis had invited him, and it was just a real God moment for us. And we've been trying to be good supporters with Dennis and Dan and whole Willow Run Tea Party. We learned a lot, and I hope we can continue on. So thanks for Dennis.
I knew Dennis. Joe stopped on with memory with one
I don't mean to follow up on everybody who's going to come up here, but this needs some follow-up. He did mention, some of you, most of you know, that the Bloomfields lost their son in Iraq. This fellow's running for office, and I wanted him to come and speak. So he's coming, and he's talking about filing an amicus brief for that cross in California that they were trying to get removed from public ground. So, Mount Soledad. And as the Bloomfields were sitting there, it became more and more obvious that there was a real close connection here, because their son's name was on that cross because it listed those who had fallen in Iraq. And the more that they found out, the more that they talked, they understood. And this fellow, his name will come to me. Brian Rooney of the Pittsburgh Steelers team. His father owned the Steelers, or his grandfather. He's running for office. So he was filing an amicus brief to protect that cross, but during this conversation, we found out that he was there, probably one of the first ones to the site of the helicopter crash that took the life of an American patriot called Gerald Bloomfield Jr. And it was a God moment, yeah, because it ministered to those folks' lives at a very special time of grieving. And I don't know that I don't know it. I haven't experienced it. I don't know it ever ends. But this caucus has been able, and by the way, you've ministered more to us than we have to you, but that's who we are and what we do in this caucus. And I want you to continue that. Don't ever stop being a ministry of love to people in need. Those are some special folks right there.
Dennis and I go way back, 1970s. We'd be playing ball together in the church team, and I wanted to say that I never had any inkling that this guy has the depth and the breadth of information that most college professors would die for. It's just incredible. My wife and I sometimes talk about how incredibly great his speeches are. And off the cuff, somebody mentioned earlier. And one thing we want to mention too, I think, is the fact that it has not been mentioned yet that the national speaker, the national radio man, Doc Thompson, hooked up with Glenn Beck, was here and set up a television setup. That's all.
Thank you. Someone else?
By the way, folks, but Dan will hold that microphone so that he can snatch it from you if you get it. Dick did really fine, Richard.
I am.
Come on around. That's all right.
I just want to comment on kind of like what Jerry said about when Obama started, and I think it was pretty close to that time when they had signed Obamacare is what started me here. But I think some of the things that I think of most is the fun we had making parade floats and being in the parades that we were in, and some of them were, you know, when we had the pipe and drum thing where the policemen along the routes here, Ypsilanti, Ann Arbor, the one in Manchester, they all saluted us as we went by. So that's my main thing, is it was fun we had doing things like that.
Someone else? Don't be shy. This is your chance. Come on, Joe.
Make it short, Joe.
This guy, I'm going to say something about Joe. He's been one of the hardest workers over the years, whether it's phone banks, knocking on doors, whatever it is. Joe's been there. Joe shows up, which is more we could say for a lot of folks, but Joe shows up, and he showed up again tonight. Let's give him a real round.
You know, Dennis, I really didn't know what I was going to say. And for people that know me, they know that I usually don't have a problem sticking in my 2 cents. But I figured I had to say something. And I know we've held varying outlooks on political strategery. And George Bush wasn't dumb, he created a word. And I just want to, I'm just so taken by your enthusiasm and commitment to this cause that, I want to shake your hand. And now I lost my train of thought. Now that's not too hard to do, but anyway, I want to wish you and Linda, the best in your hometown of Mayberry, South Carolina. Say hello to Barney for me.
I gotta find his bullet.
And I wish you all the best, and you have a great time with your family and reconnecting with everybody.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's give Joe another round of applause. That's great. Someone else, don't be shy. Come on, where you got the chance. This is a chance for you. He's made out a list of notes here.
Rob Stano. I was here, I think it was the first meeting that Dennis had, because there was a clip in the paper said we're going to have a tea party. I think it was right after the first of the year in '09, I thought. So it was Dar Fisher and Lori Levi, myself, and Dennis. That was way back there. I thought, wow, this is going to be just a little ragtag, little nothing, that we're going to try to say we're taxed enough already. And it really changed. So it was a lot of people that gave a lot for the country. You brought them in, made me a better citizen.
Yeah. Amen. Someone else.
Rob,
Yeah.
I'm a hugger.
Someone else.
Is that what you call a Bader moment?
Anybody else?
I just want to say that I've learned a lot from this tea party. I want to thank you, Dennis, for all your hard work. Thank you, Dan and Denise, for all your hard work. I want to ask you, I'm assuming you have a good church that you go to down there, so.
In South Carolina, per capita, there's more churches and Baptist churches in the
Okay.
world.
A good Bible-believing
Yes,
Baptist
we have
church
some,
then.
we have some good ones in mind.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else.
Come on, Linda.
In church, this is called popcorn testimony time. In tea party, it's one after another. Who'll be next? Come on. Judy and Jerry. This is not Jerry.
This is Judy.
Let Judy have a mic, and,
Oh gosh.
she'll just do it from there.
Do it from where you're at.
Oh, I got the mic.
No, you
Wow.
don't.
We ain't turning to lose that one. We'll buy tickets for this.
Well, Jerry told the story. And he told it very well because he's very quiet, soft-spoken man. But the rest of the story is that from the moment that we met Dennis, he put his arms around us and he has carried us for 8 long years. And he's been so faithful and kind to us. I just don't know how to ever repay the favor other than maybe pass it on to somebody else. But I just want you to know, Dennis, how much we love you, and we miss you. And you too, Linda, you've been part of it, and so has the whole caucus. It just, made our journey a little bit, a step at a time, a little easier. And knowing that we had a voice where our son lost his voice, that we could be a voice for him. He was quite a patriot. Probably would have been running for Terry's seat or Carrie's seat if he would have lived. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
It's been one of the most faithful families in the group for many years. Someone else. Come on up.
Well, I didn't really plan to say anything, but I've been coming here a really long time, and basically what I wanted to say was just how much this caucus has meant to me personally. I originally got involved pretty much like everybody else, well, Bill Vigler, but I have a really great respect for Dennis Moore and what he's done, and all of us in the caucus and what we've done for this part of Michigan, and all that's come from this caucus. That's just what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's going to be next?
How was Bill doing?
I haven't heard. Denise?
He's doing all right. He's having some issues with sinus and stuff, so wires and surgeries coming up, but other than that, he's Bill. Still Bill. Still the same Bill.
All right, while you're getting encouraged to come up, we still have some time for you to come up. I want to give you a little update concerning my wife. She has pulmonary fibrosis. It's a lung disease. The pores of the lungs fill up. The lungs think that there's an infection, and it reacts, and it actually turns the lungs into a cellophane-like. In fact, there's times when she can hear it crinkling. And gradually she loses lung capacity. She's been denied a lung transplant by both the IU Health System in Indiana and also the Mayo Clinic. So it's a terminal disease. My wife is a devout Christian. And after she was diagnosed, the doctors here didn't catch it. After she was diagnosed, I remember one night, I walked in the kitchen, she was at the sink. I walked up behind her, put my arms around her waist, put my chin on her shoulder, right behind her right ear. And I said, honey, don't be afraid. And without missing a beat, she says, honey, I'm not afraid. When I die, I'll see the Lord and I'll see my mother. Because her mother was saved, her mother died of the same thing. So barring a miracle, the disease is terminal. But this sweet lady has shown in the past weeks and months a depth of character and a depth of courage that I'll be honest with you, I didn't think she had. But she's been a testimony and a blessing, even more so than the past 51 years. She's been a testimony and a blessing to me because of her character and the way she's facing this. And she really regards this as her last trip to Michigan. And I hope that's not the case. I want to keep her around a long time, but if it follows its natural course, it is terminal. So I appreciate and covet your prayers. We don't know what the future holds and what we're going to be doing. We know we have some needs of various kinds, but you know the Lord's faithful. And I can tell you that over the years, I've learned a great deal, but not as much as I've learned, I think, in the past year from my wife. She's been such a blessing and such an encouragement. Thank you again, honey, for your love, for your support, and for being a faithful follower of the Willow Run Tea Party Caucus. So would you give my dear wife a round of applause? Hey, look who you up in. Anyone else? Come on up. If you have something to say about Dennis, or you're angry with him, you want to throw something, well, don't throw anything, but just come on up and share what's on your heart. Last chance, going once.
Tell Tim, I know Tim's got something to
Tim
say.
doesn't understand.
Oh, Tim, do you want to say something about him?
Come on up, Tim.
There we go.
I'd like to say something about Tim while he's coming up. When I ran for county commissioner, Tim has some physical problems. Tim said, Dan, I'll help you. And he came out on a day when he probably should have been at home resting. His legs swelled up after, but he walked the streets. of Ypsilanti, helping me talk with people, putting flyers on doors. Like Joe, Tim is another one who gets out there and gets it done and works at it. Give Tim a real round of applause for that.
I'm sorry I was late tonight. My daughter, she's varsity cheer over at Saline. They beat Ipsy 24-13 tonight. And we got right over here afterwards. I witnessed the last 2 weeks. Last week it was Pioneer, who didn't come out for the national anthem and stayed in the locker room, and now Ipsy did the same thing. So as a Willow Run alumni, I wasn't happy with the Willow Run part of Ypsilanti. But you know, that's another political thing that we'll have to tackle. So, memories? I have a lot of them. But I don't think you would want me to. I'd be here for an hour talking on the mic, but the Willow Run Bomber Plant Memorial, we're still kicking away at that, and we have a promise of a bill in the legislature by Senator Tom Casperson and Senator Colbeck and Senator Warren. But other than that, the one that first really got that started was Dennis, and we need to continue this because this was an important thing, and it's a patriotic thing. And I remember the Rosie the Riveter coming here, Lorraine Osborne, and Herman Dill, and how Dennis got that all together, and Denise, and that's another thing that we got to continue to tackle. And I'm gonna miss Dennis. Willow Run Tea Party is going to be different without him, and you don't realize the blessings that you've had with human beings that are in your life, people in your life, until they leave, until they're gone. A lot of times you don't realize that. And we love you, Dennis.
Amen.
And we are going to miss you tremendously. And you've been an inspiration and a godsend to us all.
Greetings, citizens. Greetings.
Mr. America.
Am I to understand that my fellow patriots meet here for the Willow Run Tea Party?
Yes, you are.
Leave it to Joe. Leave it to Joe.
Get up there with Dennis. Go up there with Dennis. Come on.
Okay.
How's my muscles look?
Terrible. Go up by Dennis.
All right, Joe, come here. Or Captain America, come here.
Captain America.
I know Captain America personally.
Joe.
Look, I got my battery's going dead.
Well, as usual, Joe is unexplainable. And
I'm full of surprises.
he's full of surprises. Joe is always, if things get bored, you can count on Joe. I thought he left because he was angry, you know? Okay, so, folks, what's going to happen in just the next 5 minutes or so, my wife and I are going to leave. And I want to give you an admonishment. This caucus needs to continue. And you need to continue. If I've left you with anything, I think you know it's passion. I'm not always right about everything. My kids used to say, Dad, you think you're right about everything? And I said, of course I do, or I would change my mind. So there's a lot that maybe there's room to say I wasn't right about everything, but I'm always right about my passion. And when you continue, and you will, continue with passion. To that point, as you go into the next few months, you need to decide on who's going to be. Don't look at it as a replacement for me. Look at it as a leader that's going to take the caucus in a new direction. And it doesn't have to be a different direction, but it has to be somebody who can hold us together. I don't want to just have informal caucuses here. The rule is, if we do not have 10 people in here by a quarter after we convert to an informal caucus, because it is just not fair to tie this whole side up and not have customers for Tony. Oh, by the way, if you have a drink, only if you didn't order dinner and you have a drink, please don't forget to pay for it. And at this point, I'm going to ask all you conservatives to tip liberally. Because the waitresses work hard, and sometimes they don't get the tips that they deserve. We forget, sometimes we don't realize this is a 3-hour party and she has to take care of us, and usually it's one. So please tip liberally. But my wife and I really do need to go down the road, and we would like you folks to continue to enjoy whatever it is. And by the way, cut me some cake. And hey Tim, I'm glad you came. Cut me some cake. I love Tim. Yeah, we do have to leave. And it's going to be a very sad departure. But I want to sincerely thank you folks for allowing me to be not your leader, but part of who you are. Because we've done a lot. We've accomplished a lot. And so this is not goodbye. This is farewell. From time to time we'll come back, and also maybe I can phone in or Skype in, and our technician will fix it up and tell us how to get that done. So we're thrilled with what is on our horizon. Pray for us. There's a lot of challenges, but we're sad and we're excited. So our lives, the Lord has blessed with new beginnings, and so we begin those tonight. So as we depart, we want to sincerely say thank you for all you've meant to us.